It all began with something so small, so utterly mundane, it shouldn't have meant anything. Saturday morning. The house was quiet. Lauren had gone to yoga, her usual 2-hour weekend escape, which meant I had the place to myself. I was tidying up the living room, half distracted, moving magazines, throwing away junk mail, when I spotted it. Her old tablet, wedged between the couch cushions like a forgotten memory. It was dusty, covered in smudges. I picked it up, wiped the screen on my shirt. The thing was ancient, a relic from before we got married. Lauren hadn't used it in over a year, maybe longer. I pressed the power button, expecting the battery to be dead. But the screen blinked to life. To my surprise, no password. Just the lock screen wallpaper, a photo of a beach we once visited in Tulum. I stared at it for a moment. She looked happy in that photo. So did I. It felt like a different life. I didn't mean to pry. Honestly, I didn't. My plan was to reset it, wipe the data, and give it to my nephew. That's all. But as the home screen loaded, a notification dropped down from the top. One line, just one. But it felt like someone shoved an ice cube down the back of my shirt. Telegram. If he hasn't caught you, it doesn't count. I blinked. Read it again. What the hell was that? I hesitated. Stared at it. My thumb hovered over the screen. I told myself, it's probably just a joke. Some dumb meme from a group chat. But something didn't feel right. Something in my gut twisted, low and tight. I tapped it. Telegram opened instantly. No login screen. Straight into a chat. Sisters of Freedom, 27 members. Group description. For conscious women unlearning monogamy and reclaiming power through truth, body, and choice. It sounded like a support group, a women's circle. I almost laughed. But then the messages started loading, one after another, dozens, hundreds. They weren't talking about empowerment. They were talking about cheating, strategies, excuses, stories. One message read, "He thinks I'm working late again. Meanwhile, I'm getting my back blown out at Brian's place. Ladies, make sure you spray a different perfume when you leave. Keeps the illusion alive." Another, "My husband still thinks he was my first. Bless his clueless heart." My pulse quickened. I felt heat rising to my face, but I still held on to the desperate hope that this had nothing to do with me. And then I saw it. Conscious Goddess. That was Lauren's Instagram handle, her Twitter, her email, her Wi-Fi name. She was one of the top posters. I scrolled up. Her latest message was time-stamped just last night. Met up with Alex again, back of his car this time, exciting. Came home, kissed my husband goodnight. He thanked me for the spaghetti. If only he knew what kind of sauce I'd already tasted. I felt my throat close up. The tablet grew heavier in my hands. My ears rang like I was underwater. I had no idea who Alex was, but apparently my wife did. And I had just stepped into a world I was never meant to see. I don't know how long I sat there staring at that screen. 5 minutes? 15? An hour? Time folded in on itself. I kept scrolling. My hands were shaking, but I couldn't stop. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion and realizing you're the one behind the wheel. The chat went back months, maybe a year. Some messages were tame, vague flirting, emotional vents. Others were surgical. Women in this group weren't just cheating. They were comparing strategies, sharing how to manipulate their husbands, how to guilt-trip him if he gets suspicious, how to fake intimacy enough to keep the peace, how to lie and look like a victim. One message from a user named A Spiritual Venus said, "If he asks why you're distant, cry and say you feel unseen. Works every time." Another wrote, "Use the I'm healing my trauma card. That buys you at least a month of space." Then Lauren, Conscious Goddess, chimed in again. "He asked me last night if I'm still attracted to him. I said yes, of course, then went down on Alex an hour later. It's honestly funny at this point." I felt sick, a buzzing nausea in the pit of my stomach. My mouth went dry. I tried to find a rational explanation. Maybe it was just role play, a writing group, fiction. But the details were too sharp, too real. She mentioned my name. She mentioned the exact meal I cooked on Sunday, lasagna with spinach. She mentioned our dog barking when she came home late. She even described our bedroom. This wasn't fiction. This wasn't fantasy. It was a reality she lived when I wasn't looking. And I'd never seen it coming. Then I stumbled upon something that made my blood run cold. Lauren posted a guide, titled, "How to Keep Your Man Blind While You Enjoy Freedom." It had bullet points. Keep intimacy rare but occasional. He'll appreciate scraps. Cry strategically when questioned. Use mental health or female cycles to avoid suspicion. Hide your tracks by blaming his insecurities. Always remind him he's lucky to have you. I scrolled in disbelief as the women applauded her. Heart emojis, clapping gifs. Someone even said, "You should turn this into a course." Lauren replied, "One day I might. I've got so much material." That was when my thumb finally stopped scrolling. My whole body was stiff. I hadn't realized I'd been holding my breath, and I knew this wasn't just cheating. This was a philosophy, a doctrine. They didn't just betray their husbands. They trained each other how to do it and still come out looking like goddesses. The worst part wasn't even what she did. It was how casual she was about it. There was no guilt in her messages, no hesitation, no inner conflict. She wasn't some woman torn between two men. She was orchestrating, smiling while pulling the strings. I kept scrolling deeper into the abyss. A conversation caught my eye. The women were discussing divorce tactics. It started with someone asking, "How do I leave my husband and still get the house?" Lauren replied within seconds. Start the narrative early. Mention emotional neglect. Say you felt alone for years. Document fake episodes where you cried and he didn't notice. Judges love a sad woman who tried her best. Someone else wrote, "What if he finds out I've been cheating?" Lauren responded, "Deny, gaslight. If he has proof, cry harder. Say he pushed you into it emotionally. Then tell your friends he was controlling. They'll back you up." Every word was like a slap across the face. This wasn't just some cruel joke or a wild phase. This was methodical. She'd studied how to ruin me and come out looking like the survivor. And then I found the part that broke me. A thread titled, "What's your endgame, goddess?" Each woman replied with her personal plan. Lauren's answer? "Eventually I'll leave Jake, but not yet. I need to lock down a few assets first. Savings, equity, legal leverage. Then I'll exit gracefully with a white dress and no stains on my record. He'll never know what hit him." I dropped the tablet, literally. It slipped from my hands and hit the hardwood floor with a sickening thud. I just sat there, elbows on my knees, palms over my face. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something, break something. But all I could do was sit in silence. The kind of silence that doesn't come from peace, but from sheer emotional collapse. This wasn't a betrayal. This was premeditated destruction. And I had been sleeping next to the architect for years. She walked through the front door just before noon. I was still on the couch. I hadn't slept. I hadn't moved. The tablet lay in my lap, the screen dark, but my mind still lit up with every message I'd read. I sat there like stone, like a statue of someone who used to have a wife. She came in humming, keys jangling as she tossed them into the bowl by the door. Her ponytail was loose, her skin glowed from the workout, and she carried that stupid green smoothie she always bought on Saturdays. "Hey, babe," she called cheerfully, completely unaware. "You're up early." I just sat there, watching her. She stepped into the living room and smiled when she saw me, holding out the smoothie like some kind of peace offering. "Mango banana," she said. "I figured you could use a pick-me-up." I took it from her slowly, without meeting her eyes. "Thanks." She leaned down and kissed me lightly on the cheek. Her lips lingered for a moment, like she was checking for a reaction. I gave her nothing. She flopped onto the other side of the couch, sighing like she'd just come back from a war. "Oh my God, Bryn absolutely killed us today. 2-minute planks, non-stop vinyasa. My legs are shaking." I nodded. Not because I cared, just because I didn't want to speak. Not yet. I was watching her perform, watching her pretend, and all I could think about was what she wrote just a few hours ago. Met up with Alex again, back of his car this time, exciting. Came home, kissed my husband goodnight. He thanked me for the spaghetti. I had thanked her. I remembered it clearly. I'd stood at the sink washing dishes while she dried her hair and told me she loved me. Now she sat across from me, drinking water and rambling about yoga, while I held in my hands the evidence of her other life. Not just cheating, planning, coaching, celebrating. I watched her laugh at something on her phone, the same hands that typed those messages, the same fingers that slid across another man's skin the night she told me she was too tired. And still, I said nothing. Because this wasn't going to be a fight. It was going to be a reckoning. And I wanted her wide awake for every second of it. I waited a few days. Not because I needed more time to process. That part was long gone. I waited because I wanted everything to be clean. No room for escape. No chance for her to twist it into confusion or pity or another performative breakdown. I spent every evening after she went to bed compiling what I now called the file. Screenshots, timestamps, her full chat history from the Sisters of Freedom. Everything she wrote, everything she encouraged, every line soaked in arrogance and contempt. I organized it by category: affairs, tactics, advice to other wives on how to lie better, her endgame. I included the worst quotes, the ones no decent human being could explain away. Every time she kissed me, touched me, called me babe that week, I wanted to laugh in her face. But I didn't. I played it cool. I made her think everything was normal. Just another happy week in our perfect marriage. She even commented on it Friday night. "You've been so mellow lately," she said, lying in bed, her head on my chest. "I like this version of you." I stared at the ceiling and smiled faintly. Me too. Saturday morning came. I woke up early, made coffee, made it exactly how she liked it, with oat milk, a touch of cinnamon, and her favorite mug that said, "You can't pour from an empty cup." Poetic. I brought it to her in bed. She blinked at me sleepily, pleasantly surprised. "What's this for?" she murmured, sitting up. "I've got a surprise planned," I said calmly. She lit up. "Wait, is this one of your mystery date things? God, we haven't done one of those in forever." "Yeah," I said. Felt like it was time. I didn't take her anywhere fancy, just a drive, through the part of town where everything feels too clean, too perfect. She asked questions, where we were going, what she should expect. I just smiled. "We'll be home soon," I said. "I just wanted you to be relaxed." By noon we were back. I led her into the living room, closed the door, pulled the curtains. The TV was already on, connected to my laptop. She walked in behind me, still holding her coffee, a soft smile on her lips. "What's all this?" she asked. "Sit down," I said, without turning around. She did, slowly. Then I picked up the remote, clicked once. Telegram opened on the screen. The chat loaded instantly. Sisters of Freedom. Her face froze, like she'd just seen a ghost with her own eyes. I turned to her, finally, looked her straight in the face. "You recognize this, right?" She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Just a breath, then a whisper. "Jake, I can explain." I cut her off. "Good, because I've got a lot of questions." And then I hit play. The first message appeared on the screen, blown up in full HD clarity. "Met up with Alex again. Back of his car this time. Exciting. Came home, kissed my husband goodnight. He thanked me for the spaghetti." Lauren stared at it like it might disappear if she just didn't blink. I just stood next to the TV with the remote in my hand and let silence do the work. She finally spoke, her voice shaky and high-pitched. "Jake, this isn't what it looks like." I tilted my head. "No?" "Then walk me through it." Her mouth opened again, but she hesitated, caught between pretending it was a joke and realizing there was no way out. I clicked again. "He thinks I'm still his first." Bless his clueless heart. Click. Keep intimacy rare but occasional. He'll appreciate scraps. Click. If he asks why you're distant, cry and say you feel unseen. Works every time. She flinched. I walked over and placed the remote gently on the table, then sat across from her. She was trembling now, her coffee untouched in her lap, her legs pulled in tight like she was physically trying to shrink into nothing. I looked her dead in the eyes. How long has it been going on? She blinked quickly. I don't know. It's not like that, I swear. That group, those women, it's just venting, you know? We talk about a lot of things. It's exaggerated. Was Alex exaggerated? Silence. Was back of his car exaggerated? Her lip trembled. I was in a weird place, Jake. I was confused, and I didn't. You weren't confused when you wrote, I'll leave Jake eventually, but not until I've locked down assets. Her face went pale. All color drained from it like someone had flipped a switch. You weren't confused, I said, voice still level, almost gentle. You were strategic. You coached other women on how to lie to their husbands. You made it a game. She shook her head, tears starting to form. No, it wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You just didn't think I'd ever see it. She started crying, real tears, big ones. Her hands covered her face as her shoulders shook. A few years ago, that would have shattered me. Now I just watched. You planned the exit before you even let me know you were unhappy, I said. You never asked for help. You never told me you were struggling. You just weaponized my kindness. She sniffled, peeking at me from behind her hands. I didn't want to hurt you. I leaned forward. You didn't care if you did. She didn't respond, not right away. She just sat there crying into her hands, like tears could wash away a year's worth of betrayal. I let her cry. I didn't interrupt. I didn't touch her. Eventually she dropped her hands and looked at me, eyes red, mascara smudged, lips trembling. I didn't mean for it to go that far, she whispered. You did, I said flatly. You just didn't mean for me to find out. She shook her head. Jake, it wasn't about you. It was about me. I was lost. I didn't feel seen. Don't, I said, louder this time. Don't recycle lines from that group chat like they're original. She looked stunned, guilty, like I'd slapped her, even though I never moved. I gave you everything, I continued. Time, loyalty, patience, love. Even when we drifted, I stayed in it. I was there. You were writing fucking step-by-step guides on how to deceive me. I was angry, she said. I felt like I had no control over my own life. So you took control by sneaking around with other men behind my back and planning how to steal everything on your way out? She covered her mouth like she might throw up. And then she said something I'll never forget. I never stopped loving you. I leaned back, crossed my arms, and laughed once. Short, sharp, bitter. You don't get to say that. That's not love. That's marketing. Her face collapsed. Jake, what are you going to do? I stood up slowly and walked to the door. I already did it. She stared at me, confused. I sent the chat logs to my lawyer, and your mother, and mine, and for good measure, I scheduled a backup to auto-send to your HR department in case you try anything stupid. Wait, what? Jake, no, please. I'm not staying here tonight, I said calmly. You'll have time to pack. The house is in my name, and the bank accounts are already frozen. You'll get what you're legally owed, not what you strategically planned to steal. Her tears turned panic. You can't just walk away like this. I'm not walking away, I said, opening the door. I'm waking up. Then I looked at her one last time. You're not a goddess, Lauren. You're a goddamn seminar on how to ruin a good man. And I left. It's been 6 months since I left. The house is mine again. Not just legally, emotionally. The energy's different now. No undercurrent of manipulation humming beneath the walls. No performative smiles. No forced intimacy. The silence that used to feel cold now feels clean. I didn't burn her life down. I didn't have to. The truth did the work for me. The group chat? Gone, deleted. But not before screenshots made their way through a few inboxes that mattered. One of her friends even reached out to apologize. She didn't know it had gone that far, she said. Maybe she didn't. Lauren moved into a condo on the east side. I heard Alex didn't last. Of course he didn't. Turns out, men who enjoy borrowing wives usually don't like keeping them. People ask sometimes how I'm doing. I tell them I'm fine, which is mostly true. Healing isn't linear. Some days the past feels like a bruise, other days like a clean scar. There are moments when I catch myself thinking about her, about Lauren. Not in the way I used to, though. Not with longing or sadness. More like curiosity. I wonder if she still drinks mango banana smoothies. If she still says, I need to realign, when she means, I want to disappear. I wonder if she checks my social media just to see if I'm bitter. I'm not. She did send a message a month ago, an email, long, rambling. She wrote about therapy, about shame, about realizing how deeply she projected her sense of inadequacy onto the marriage. It read like a self-help seminar transcript. I didn't reply, not because I was angry, but because it didn't deserve one. Some things don't need closure. Some things are better left archived. I've learned a lot since then. I've learned that love, real love, doesn't come with conditions or contracts or group chats on how to simulate affection. It doesn't require strategy. And I've learned that loyalty, the kind that sits quietly in the kitchen at 2 a.m., washing dishes for someone who won't even meet your eyes, is a dangerous thing when it's given to the wrong person. But I'm not bitter. I'm aware. And there's peace in that. Sometimes I walk past the mirror and barely recognize myself. Not because I look different, but because I'm finally looking at myself, not through someone else's lens. I used to be afraid of being alone. Now I treat it like a privilege. Because alone, I don't have to guess who's lying to me. And that, for the first time in a long time, feels like freedom.